I just point out, what's going to replace your glasses? Like,
So
why
I
would you wear
do
your
know,
glasses around your face? They're made of plastic.
maybe.
No,
I don't know what they're made out of.
They are. And I just point out some things here because I just want to be realistic when we're having conversations. Because when statements are made like this, I just want to open people's eyes and say, well, okay, that's easy to say, but what's the solution? Your water bottle in front of you.
This one?
Yes. That plastic?
No.
The lid is. That's plastic.
Right. So
Right.
I would say to your question that I would first be concerned about single-use plastics, and then we can talk about alternatives to this.
Your cell phone there. The plastic?
The cases, but it's glass because I broke
The components inside of it's
screen
not
yesterday.
plastic? The components made out of it's not plastic? Yeah, they are. The water that you filled that water bottle up with, where'd you fill that water bottle up out of?
A water filling station.
All right, and it was delivered by a drink station that was plastic?
I didn't check.
The edges are. The piping coming to it. Now, you have a couple of choices with the piping. We could go back to using wood, but then you have to line it in chemical. Or we could go back and use lead, because we used to have water piping that was lead. That was harmful to us. We go back to galvanized, but galvanized rust and had discoloration. We go back to copper, but copper has to be mined, and everybody. Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Bradford, in your testimony, did I understand you right? So that you want to end all plastic manufacturing?
I said the plastics industry must be stopped.
So does that mean end plastic manufacturing?
I mean, in my dream world, sure, but I think that. Go ahead.
No, so I don't mean to be condescending here. I just point out, what's going to replace your glasses? Like,
So
why
I
would you wear
do
your
know.
glasses around your face? They're made of plastic.
Maybe.
No,
I don't know what they're made out of.
They are. And I just point out some things here because I just want to be realistic when we're having conversations. Because when statements are made like this, I just want to open people's eyes and say, well, okay, that's easy to say, but what's the solution? Your water bottle in front of you.
This one?
Yes. That plastic?
No.
The lid is. That's plastic.
Right. So
Right.
I would say to your question that I would first be concerned about single-use plastics, and then we can talk about alternatives to this.
Your cell phone there. The plastic?
The cases, but it's glass because I broke
The components inside of it's
screen
not
yesterday.
plastic? The components made out of it's not plastic? Yeah, they are. The water that you filled that water bottle up with, where'd you fill that water bottle up out of?
A water filling station.
All right, and it was delivered by a drink station that was plastic?
I didn't check.
The edges are. The piping coming to it. Now, you have a couple of choices with the piping. We could go back to using wood, but then you have to line it in chemical. Or we could go back and use lead, because we used to have water piping that was lead. That was harmful to us. We go back to galvanized, but galvanized rust and had discoloration. We go back to copper, but copper has to be mined, and everybody wants to stop mining in the U.S. So you use plastic to deliver piping that you fill that water bottle up with today. I point this out because the clothes you have on, I guarantee you have plastic in it. The shoes you have on your feet, the soles of those shoes are plastic. So we talk about any plastic manufacturing, and everybody in here cheers when you say that, but everybody here is depending on plastic as you set. So if you want to end it, then quit using it. It's kind of like I don't shop at certain places right now because I don't agree with some of their policies. I choose not to do that. You can choose to not use plastic. Do your work. If you believe it, then live it that way. And if not, then tell me what the solution is. Mr. Sunday, can you manufacture a car today without plastic? Because we talked about manufacturing, the chairman brought up manufacturing cars as it is safe. But the components that go into the cars today, can you do that without plastic?
No, Senator, and increasingly so with the new mileage mandates. You increasingly need to use automotive components that are plastics derived.
So we wouldn't have manufacturing, today's modern manufacturing, if we didn't have plastics, correct?
Correct.
Ms. Jackson, do you agree with that statement?
Yes.
So what's the alternative for manufacturing? Because the Democrats talk about middle-class wages. Middle-class wages typically come directly from manufacturing. What is it that we're manufacturing that doesn't have plastic in it today?
Nothing. And you know what? It would increase the cost of everything if we turn to an alternative, and it would disproportionately impact low-income people who have lower incomes. It would be another regressive tax on the poor.
So according to your testimony, Ms. Jackson, it sounds like you're saying that the environmental justice agenda does more harm than good for low-income families. Is that correct?
Yes. And, you know, I have the unique opportunity to see both sides when the industry comes in the area and when it doesn't. As an auditor, I worked on Nissan North America. Nissan North America moved to Smyrna, Tennessee, where it built the largest automotive manufacturing plants. And the transformation was astonishing. I mean, it went from a community that was poor to a community that U.S. World News
Wow.
voted one of the top 10 places to retire. You had poor people in areas that were poor that became middle class. You had middle class people that became upper middle class, and a lot of upper middle class people that became affluent. They have attractions, they have amenities, they have housing, affordability. I mean, the amount of prosperity in that area has resonated out three counties. I've also had the opportunity to see when an industrial, and that wouldn't happen if you don't have an industrial complex moving into the area where you're talking about high economics. I've also seen the other side where all of a sudden you have deteriorating buildings, empty storefronts, dilapidated housing, people standing on street corner housing, that families that are broken. So we need to balance the fact that people's lives need economic upward mobility. And we can't just say, we're going to take out an industry and leave people poorer than they were. Poverty causes the worst health care in this country. Poverty is the one that destroys lives. It destroys health. It creates trauma. So we need to make sure that when we're talking about these issues, we take into account the human loss of life, not just the environmental impacts.
Thank you. Thanks for indulgence there.
And in that instant, the hearing room turned from quiet policy debate to a stage for something rawer, an ideological collision between conviction and consequence. Senator Markwayne Mullin leaned forward, eyes locked on the witness who had just said she wanted the plastics industry stopped. What followed was part interrogation, part lesson in material reality. He pointed, first to her glasses. What are they made of? Silence. Then to her water bottle. The lid? Plastic. Her cell phone, her clothes, the soles of her shoes, even the pipes that carried the water she drank. One by one, he mapped an invisible web connecting the modern world to a single synthetic thread. It wasn't theater for its own sake. It was revelation. Each object became a symbol of dependence, a mirror held up to the comfort and convenience of a civilization that condemns what it cannot yet replace. Mullin's tone hardened not from cruelty but from frustration, because behind his pointed questions lay a plea. If you want to change the system, understand the system. The witness, caught between moral idealism and material necessity, could only concede piece by piece. Yes, some plastic. Yes, some components. Yes, single-use items are the problem. But what about everything else? Mullin wasn't mocking her. He was cornering the hypocrisy baked into modern environmental absolutism, the demand to abolish an industry while still living off its yield. Then he pivoted. Can you manufacture a car today without plastic? He asked another witness. The answer came crisp, almost weary. No, Senator, we cannot. Modern vehicles rely on lightweight polymers for safety, efficiency, even fuel economy. Eliminate them and the industry collapses, or the costs skyrocket, punishing those least able to afford it. That was the fulcrum of Mullin's argument, the human cost. Not the theoretical calculus of carbon, but the real arithmetic of livelihood. If manufacturing dies, he said, the middle class withers. If the middle class withers, poverty spreads. And poverty, as another witness reminded the room, is itself the most corrosive pollutant, eating away health, stability, and hope. Her words hung there, quiet and devastating. Poverty destroys lives. Factories bring prosperity. Towns that once crumbled now thrive because industry returned. You could see it, she said, county by county, in the houses repainted, in the storefronts reopened, in the kids whose parents could finally afford to stay. And so the confrontation over plastic became something larger, a reckoning with how moral purity collides with material complexity. The senator's challenge wasn't merely to an activist, but to an entire narrative, that righteousness alone can substitute for infrastructure, that slogans can replace engineering, that banning is easier than building better. For decades, America has exported its contradictions, offshoring pollution, outsourcing labor, importing the finished goods that still rely on the very petrochemicals it decries. Mullin's interrogation forced the room to see that hypocrisy laid bare. the environmental conscience made possible by the plastics it condemns. But within his frustration was also an unspoken truth. He wasn't defending pollution, he was defending realism. To change, we must first admit how deeply the modern age is built on this malleable miracle of chemistry: medical devices, safety helmets, insulation, infant incubators, heart valves, every sector touched by polymer, every life shielded by it in some way. The deeper meaning of that hearing was not a denial of responsibility, it was a demand for honesty. Real solutions don't start with erasure. They start with innovation, recycling that truly works, biodegradable composites, new chemistry that liberates without collapsing what it sustains. But innovation requires investment, not vilification, dialogue, not disdain. And as Mullin's voice echoed across the marble walls, his refrain landed like a dare. If you believe it, live it. Don't just say you want to end plastics. Show the world the alternative. Build it, wear it, drive it, drink from it. Until then, ideals without answers are just slogans on recycled paper. By the end, even those who disagreed with him had to confront the clarity of the moment. Environmental justice cannot mean economic injustice. Sustainability that destroys livelihoods is not sustainability at all. To protect the earth, we must also protect the people who live on it, the workers, the families, the small towns whose hope still depends on the hum of a factory floor. When the gavel fell, the hearing ended, but the question lingered like static in the air. What does it mean to change without collapsing the very world you're trying to save? The answer won't come from outrage or purity. It will come from courage, the courage to face complexity, to bridge ideology and industry, to build a future that is cleaner but still human. Because progress without people isn't progress, it's just theory. And here, on Liberal Country, we believe in truth over theater, in honesty over slogans, in solutions that don't leave working Americans behind. If you believe in that too, if you believe change must be real, compassionate, and grounded, then stand with us. Subscribe to Liberal Country. Support the journalism that doesn't flinch when the easy answers fall apart. Because this isn't about plastic. It's about principle. It's about the fragile balance between the world we have and the one we still have time to build.